to the fifth in this video series we're doing here at Fiskal, where we talk about the latest in fintech and accounting software trends and anything we find interesting, really. So I'm joined today again by Jaco, our CEO. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Ike.
All right. Always great. And today we're going to be talking about how Fiskal has adopted specific aspects of the Agile methodology, what it means to take control of finance, and also we'll be talking a bit about the quarterly connect that Fiskal had last week. All right, so let's jump right in. So Chris and I, the last time we chatted, talked a bit about the Agile methodology. Could you tell me a bit about how Fiskal has adopted specific elements of it?
100%. Thanks, Haiku. I want to start out by saying that I did my research initially, trying to find out what is the most efficient way of planning work. And the Agile methodology kept coming up. That's used in especially the software development industry. But there's a nuance, is a lot of our work is recurring. So there's like recurring tasks that you have to do on a monthly basis. But then there's also this aspect of non-recurring work, little projects, things that you have to action on a per client basis. And what I decided to do is take elements from the Agile methodology and apply that into finance, and then we develop the fiscal finance cycle out of it.
That's interesting. So what does that involve?
So essentially what we did is we used elements from Agile, completing our work logs, but our work logs are now full of recurring line items and project line items. So ad hoc requests from customers that come through, and then we assign it into our cycle, and the team then puts up their hand and decides to make sure that all the work items that we've allocated for the cycle gets done. Especially for the ad hoc, if new things come through, or if they're struggling, like we can see capacity is going to be an issue in the next finance cycle. Other team members can jump in and assist.
It seems to me like a very good framework to use, because of the accountability it also grants to people that are part of the process.
Yeah, 100%. So teams, especially in finance, when I started the business initially, I assigned customers to account managers.
Yes.
And essentially the account manager was responsible for all work items, and they worked with a resource pool of other resources that's available. So you had this extremely complex matrix of teams that are working together on a lot of different clients, and then only the account managers being responsible for ad hoc and recurring projects on a customer. And then you've got conflicting priorities that run across, if there's, from a resource point of view, the team members complained that they didn't know who their boss was, because now they're working on 3 different customers, there's 3 different account managers, all 3 of them think their work is the most important thing that needs to happen.
Of course.
So they complained that was an issue that we experienced, is saying that there's conflicting priorities. So the first thing is we establish teams then, and say, okay, there's one team lead that is responsible for allocating the work log to the team members that they have. And then the second thing we did is we added a customer success manager, which is also something we took from the software development industry. They call them product managers in the software world. And essentially they then decide what the priorities is for the team. So that's the person that links between what the technical work is that needs to happen, and how do we deliver that to the customer, what's the customer's changing needs. And that ensures that we keep on focusing on what's important to the customer, not what's important to us. But still keeping to make sure that the work log is completed. You need to perform all your technical tasks, but just to ensure that we keep focusing on what's important to the customer.
100%. That makes so much sense, and it makes extra sense for Fiskal to use it because of the business software that we work with. So it kind of makes sense that we would borrow from the software industry when we think about our priorities.
100%. I actually saw it at customers. So a lot of our customers are software startups, and I was amazed at how they organize their work and how their teams organize, and that's how I landed up with getting interested in the Agile framework when I asked around about what is the most efficient way of allocating work and getting teams effective and ensuring that they get things done. And that's also essentially, if I think back, it's taking elements from how the software teams organize, especially engineering teams, but then also how their customer success managers and or product managers prioritize as well.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think that actually flows quite well into the next question, which is so in your mind, what does it mean to take control of finance?
It's a very interesting question. And I ran a poll on social media the other day, and our community responded saying that is the most, it's the aspect of, or the skill that they're looking for most in a bookkeeper, is taking control of finance. Now, what that means to me is coming from an outsourced finance background previously, a lot of times accountants, bookkeepers, controllers are very good at identifying issues, saying what the problem is, or identifying articulating that there is a problem. But they don't go that last 5% or 10% of the way in solving the issue. They know exactly what the problem is. And they would usually identify to the business owner and say, we've got an issue with the way that you reference payments when you make payments, and it's causing us allocation errors when we do the bookkeeping on a monthly basis. Whereas taking control in that example is saying, we actually load payments and load references, and then the business owner approves. So taking control of finance means owning the outcome, and that's the main thing. Is all aspects relating to finance, we own the outcome, and we are responsible for it. That's probably even more. It's like we are responsible and accountable for everything that touches finance. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to execute. It just means that we want to structure a way and influence other departments that ensures that everything that touches finance is our responsibility. So we're accountable for anything in finance. That's what that phrase means for me.
Fantastic. It kind of reminds me of Jocko Willink's concept of extreme ownership. Because as you mentioned now, it's basically taking control of finance is taking ownership of every facet.
Extreme ownership. I'm also a Jocko fan. He might be my man crush, but so that is it. And I mean, it is essentially owning the outcome, that anything that you have to do, that you have to deal with, or that touches finance, that we are a customer, and it's a mindset. It's not identifying the issue, but it's also problem solving and actioning it. Movement is more important. Let's say inaction is also a decision.
Exactly.
And movement is very important if you work in that way, and having the confidence that the actions you are taking 90% of the time, correct, and only 10% of the time they're wrong. And if they're wrong, that's fine. We make a course correction.
Yeah.
So that is what taking ownership of finance means.
Okay, 100%. So then let's jump to the last question. So last week we had the Quarterly Connect. I think everybody in the company I know really enjoyed it. Could you share some insights or?
I'll start with the reason for having the Quarterly Connect, and we take this view from budgeting, actually, in the sense that spending time on what matters and ruthlessly cutting where it doesn't make sense. So be as efficient as possible of overall, but making sure you spend where it will deliver results. I'll use an example is if you have an R&D budget, which is very important in any business, you will assign 10% of resources into research and development, because whatever comes out of research and development will be your next product or the next thing that you deliver. You know, if you're a business, it doesn't make sense spending 50% of your budget on research and development, because the core business won't operate then. And that's really what the concept is. Now, for us, working in a hybrid environment, or and certain team members being fully remote, it's a get together. It's basically every quarter we spend 2 days. Pretty intense, a lot of training, a lot of team activities, and the idea is spending as much time together as we can within that 2 days to ensure that there's bonding relationships that's strengthened, and then there's also training delivered to, there's a lot of value for the business in it, but then we don't see the team members then for 3 months. So it's saying that connection and trust within team members is very important for output and making sure that they're good, cohesive teams. And so we spend that, we make that allocation. We all go away into, we had the mountain retreat where we were at, so that we invest in cohesive teams, and then it ensures that we're extremely efficient during the next 3 months, next 3 month cycle.
Yeah.
So that's the background behind the quarterly connect. It's like when we spend time together, we do it really intense, and when we don't spend time together, we're really efficient in the way that we work.
Okay, that's great. So I know I learned quite a lot because coming from a marketing background, obviously a lot of the stuff in the training sessions was new to me, and I did actually come away with new knowledge. Are there any insights that you have also gleaned?
100%. Yeah. What for me, for me, it's all about the strengthening relationships. Trust is built in teams when people are able to, when they feel safe. Okay. And a way to create that safety is realizing that everyone is human. Just hearing the backstory over dinner or over a glass of wine. Hearing who the person is, who they're in their personal life, it's you're strengthening, you're deepening human connections, which translate usually into teams being more trusting. You're not being not guarding, but being vulnerable in a professional manner. Saying that when a mistake is made, put your hand up and say, I made a mistake and this is the reason, and this is what I'll do to make it better. So that's the. Yeah. And also, if a team that has trust will also they will call each other out, like good conflict. Good conflict is saying, hey, Heiku, I don't believe that you put in your best effort this past 2 weeks on our content.
Yeah.
Our content.
That was great to hear.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is that you are able to say that, yes. And you can take it not personally, but knowing that it comes from a good place, and that is built on a table of trust, and the underlying current on that table, like the legs of that, personal relationship is the legs of that table of trust. Is knowing the other person is also a human that's just trying their best, and that only happens when you spend time together.
Yeah, that's a great insight. Yeah.
So that's. Yeah, so that for me, one of the key takeaways is I've learned so much of team members, so much that I didn't know before.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, there's always a lot of truth that comes out when you ply them with wine. So that's my other output. I always make notes.
Yeah, nice. Oh boy,
what did I say? That's when team members, they can say whatever they want honestly.
Yeah.
They feel if they've got a bit of Dutch courage, they can. They can say what they feel.
Yeah,
and then you make notes.
That makes sense. No, one of the most powerful sessions that we had also was where we were identifying places where someone did really well, and then we were identifying places where us, like personally, then you would have to say where you maybe didn't do so well. That was actually quite a powerful session that actually ties into what you're saying now about the humanity behind the person. Like, you just see it as an item on money.com, but you don't realize there's someone actually doing that. There's actually a human behind that. So that's great.
Yeah, and you know the way that they interact with that they really did try their best, or that you can say that I didn't try the best, or that they can say, you know what, we've had a team member that in the past week saying, I'm basically a single parent this week because my husband is away, the kids are on school holidays, it's going to be a tough week, and being able to say that makes them feel safe in a team environment, and they'll do better the next time around. So yeah, and that portion that you spoke about of one identifying that went really well for other team members about building confidence. To hear that, hey, hang on a second, someone has identified something that I did, the team really enjoyed that, and then on the other side is being able to say, where they feel they made a mistake and they could have done something better.
That was great.
No, I really enjoyed that as well.
I was blown away by the ownership actually that most of the people in the team seem to be taking. Or everyone actually, was great.
Yeah, and then the other output of it is how much everyone enjoyed spending their time together. So it just validated again the quarterly. This one was our first time we actually went away this quarter, and we did it this intense. So we had validation from the team that this is something that they're looking for and they want. So that was also a good output. And then on a technical side, it was also really good to see where every team member is at with the information that we are sharing and the trainings that we did. That was also brilliant to see, and how how they interact with that training and how they want to incorporate those things into their daily work life.
Yeah, that was great. I'm looking forward to the next one.
I'm glad you're looking forward to the next one. Yeah.
So thank you so much. That's all I wanted to chat about today, and then I will see you in the future one.
Appreciate it, Aiku. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, anytime. See you in the next one.